Hey guys, so I'm going to start a little series on here. I'm going to just start talking about um, my experiences because I think people are so detached from trans people because they don't really know what we go through. They just use us as talking points, but they don't realize that we are human, and I think that's because they don't know what we go through. So I have tons of stories. So I'm going to start with um, this one. So housing is really hard for trans women. At least it was very hard for me when I lived in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, it's still hard for me now, but when I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, I had an apartment. I lost my apartment because I had gotten like a month behind on rent, and where I lived was a like low income based like affordable housing complex. Anyway, um, I got behind on the rent. I finally made up the rent, and then the very next day I got an eviction notice. I didn't know at the time that that eviction notice would have been void and that I actually could have stayed the entire month to pay off that month I was on and then whatever. But anyway, I left because you don't know, you don't know. Knowledge is power, and then when you don't have knowledge, you don't have power. Anyway, I left, so I was homeless. So I had to obviously to take care of myself because jobs wouldn't offer me jobs. I mean, I couldn't get hired anywhere. So I had to, you know, escort, prostitute to make money. Now, um, some people might look at that as like, oh, how could you do that? Da, da. When it comes between life or death, survival or not to survive, you don't know what you'll be able to do or not do to survive. So I try never to speak in like, oh, I would never, because you don't know. You don't know what you're made of until you're put in a situation that have to do something. So that's what I did. I had a prostitute, and um, it's not easy. I hated it. I hated every single minute of it because I'm sleeping with people I don't want to sleep with. You mean? And if you're on hormone, you don't want to have sex with anyone. Like you're just not horny. It doesn't get hard. Like you have no interest. But you do what you gotta do. Anyway, hotel stays were anywhere from $150 to $200 per night. So I would have to charge at least $300 per client. Now, I would get offers for less, and I wouldn't take it because I just know my worth. I wasn't doing it. I'd rather be out on the streets than be with some guy for $100. Just sorry, it wasn't for me. It was $300 or nothing else. Because for me, as I look at it as a business, $300. That meant okay, I could pay for the hotel for the next day, and I'd still have extra money left over. So if I needed to eat, or if I needed to get an Uber, if I wanted to go do something outside of just being in the hotel room all the time, like that's how I looked at it. So, because my thing is, why am I doing this with one person for not enough to cover what I need? You know what I mean? Like, why would I, if I don't like doing this, why would I do it for $100? Not be able to cover all the necessities that I need, have to do it, what, three more times? And then that's wasting time too. When I could just find one person, get it done with, and boom, I have the rest of my day to do what I want to, or I can work more and cover more days. Now, hotels, I could only afford to pay a week at a time, or day by day. Um, when sometimes I find nonprofits that would help me pay for a couple weeks at a time too. Um, but it's hit or miss. Like it's not like I'm just rack up money every single day because it's Florida and it's saturated with girls and people that are doing that business, and people are doing that business for a whole lot less than I was. So there's no competition, but it's competition in a sense. I mean, like, I'm not competing with you because of looks. I'm competing with you because your price is cheaper than mine, and I just don't not willing to do what you'll do for the price that you're doing it for. Which, hey, no shame in their game. Work your hustle. It just didn't work for me. I just couldn't do it because I couldn't be sitting there with someone and being like, "Oh, $100," and I'll be like this the whole time. I've given you attitude the whole time. or I just wouldn't want you there. I'd want to finesse you. Now, if I didn't make the money for the hotel, and mind you, if it was early morning, I get up early in the morning, and I try to work and make a client all day long. Sometimes, if I didn't make a client and it got to midnight, I didn't go to sleep. I didn't go to sleep. How could I go to sleep if I knew if I went to bed and I woke up in the morning by 11 o'clock, if not 10 o'clock, I'd have to check out of the hotel. And if I checked out of the hotel, where am I going with all my suitcases? See what I mean? So it was make your money, and if you didn't, you stay up all night long until you make that money to pay for the next day. Because it was much easier to be in a hotel room and try to work than be outside of a hotel and be trying to work. But I'll play that scenario too. If I did not make the money for the hotel room and I had to, leave the hotel room, that means I'd have to, one, make sure there was money in my account to make sure I could even Uber somewhere because I have suitcases with all my stuff in it. And I'd have like a lot of bags because I have one suitcase for heels, one suitcase for clothes, one suitcase of makeup, one suitcase of, hair products and all my, like, I'm a girl. I have a lot of things and I couldn't just, carry a backpack and just get around like that. And then what? How was I gonna put myself together or have things like? So yeah, I had suitcases, so I'd always have to get an Uber XL, which cost money, and the only place you could go when you didn't have a hotel was a park. I would find a park. There's one in Walton Manors I used to go to because it had a pavilion. So if it rained, I could have all my stuff under the pavilion. I'd be dry, and they had an outlet, so I could charge my phone there. So I would charge my phone, and I'd get on Grindr. I would get on Grindr and I would try to find a client, and I would negotiate with the person and say, hey, listen, if you'll meet up with me and you'll give me the money now, I can book the hotel, or if you'll book the hotel room, put it in my name. This way, if I want to extend it later, I can extend it. And then I can meet you there in an hour, blah, 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 blah. And it worked. It usually worked. It took me a while. Sometimes I'd be in the park, I'd leave, get checked out the hotel at 11 o'clock, and I wouldn't find a client until 9 o'clock at night, midnight. It didn't matter. I did what I had to do until I got that, until I got that client, until I got that money so I could get into a room. So I know that's a story for a lot of trans girls. At least the girls that I knew in the time I was, doing my little hustle. So I know we see these girls on like Instagram and social media, and they're trans and they're, they have everything, all the work done, and they're like they're rocking Chanel's and Louis and all this stuff, and that's great. That's great for them. I'm happy for them. I'm so glad they are there and they made that. But that's not the story for all trans women. That's just not the story for all of us. And looks don't matter. Like, looks don't matter. Because I can look however, but if my morals and my standards don't allow me to want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And I think it's hypocritical for someone to sit there and tell me what I should do in my life when you wouldn't take that own advice if you were in the same situation. You know what I mean? Like, you can't give me constructive criticism on something that you've never constructed before or never been through. So that was my story time for today. I just wanted to kind of start sharing some of my past stories in my transition, and hope that maybe that sheds some light on some other girls to maybe share their stories on their transitions and their struggles. Because I think unless we start to normalize us and show what we go through, because they're not giving us housing, they're not giving us jobs, this is what we have to resort to, and it's sad. It's sad. But yeah, just because some girls make it doesn't mean that's the story for all of us. It's very hard for us, and unless you understand, you don't understand. Because if you're paying that much for hotels every day, how are you saving money to get a apartment or anything? It's an endless cycle, and it sucks.